the Night is an ancient legend, a folk legend, of how New Zealand acquired fishing nets. And it is called Kahukura and the fishing nets. Kahukura, the great war chief, awoke in the night, rose to his feet, and cried out, "A vision has come to me in my sleep. In the mists of time, they were pulled aside, and my eyes looked into the bright future. I saw my tribe, sleek, fat, rich. I saw my tribe greater than any other." And as this vision of delight glittered before my gaze and made my heart warm with happiness, a great voice called to me. Such a voice of majesty could only have come from the gods. It told me, "Go north to the land of Rangiofia." It told me to go alone and in secret. If I obeyed this voice of my dreams, I should bring back a great blessing to my people. "You must not do this," cried his warriors. "In the north are our enemies. Alone you will be captured and slaughtered. Then what will become of us, your followers, when our leader, our source of power, is no more and lies bleeding in the dust?" "I will go alone, but I will go in secret." "As the great voice told me," said Kahukura, "I will pass like a shadow at midnight. My enemies will not see me. I will walk as silent as the sun shines on a stone, and my foes will not hear me. I shall be safe, and I shall bring back a blessing to my tribe." But the warriors were afraid for his safety. They watched him day and night. If he attempted to slip away, they followed him in small bands of people. The journey, therefore, was not as the gods wished. And Kahukura returned home. He stretched out his arms to the great world of nature all around him. "Voice of my dreams, voice of the gods," he cried, "I will obey you, I will obey. Keep that great blessing of my dreams prepared and ready for me to take it with eager hands." So Kahukura waited until a night of great feasting. He waited until the warriors of his tribe were gathered together to dance the haka, the throbbing dance of war. He stood with the long lines of warriors, brandishing his spear, stamping his feet. He chanted the haka in his thrilling, deep voice, and his warriors chanted with him. They swayed, and they stamped, and they shouted, and they saw nothing but visions of victory and the smiling faces of heroes from the past. They did not see Kahukura pull his cloak of feathers around him and slip away in the darkness, alone and in secret. Kahukura walked north to the land of the Rangiofia. In the dimness of the sleepy sunset, when his enemies were going to their beds, and in the half-light of the dawn, before his foes had brushed the sleep from their eyes, Kahukura travelled. He went unseen, unheard, and after many days, he reached the land of the Rangiofia. One evening, he stood amongst the trees and he looked out at the long, curving beach, where the sea washed high and low across the sand. He heard a rustle and a scratching, and yet there was no creature there. He looked at the sea and he saw that it was filled with thousands of fish coming in on the flowing tide. The noise was the sound of their scales brushing against each other. Their numbers were so great that they turned the sea silver. Were these fish to be a part of the blessing for the tribe of Kahukura? He hid amongst the leaves of a flax bush, watched, waited. After many hours, nodding with sleep, he heard the sound of beautiful music. And peering between the leaves, he saw many small canoes drawn up on the beach. And stepping from these canoes were small, fair people with golden hair. Kahukura had heard many times of the golden-haired people who came from the sea, but he had never seen them before. They ran about laughing and talking together, and the young maiden set out food. And then he noticed how the grown men were hauling in something from the sea. They pulled with bent backs and great labour. Gradually, a bag filled with holes flopped onto the beach. Water spilled out of it, but hundreds of fish remained within. Kahukura was looking at a fishing net for the first time. This, indeed, must be the blessing that would make his tribe fat, sleek, and rich. If he could take one of these wonderful things to his people, the days of catching a few fish on a line would be gone forever. Fish could be dragged ashore in their hundreds, and hunger would be no more. Still, Kahukura sat watching from the midst of the flax bush. How could he gain possession of this blessing? How would he know how to use it? And how to make another when it wore out? He watched the men shake the fish from the net onto the beach. He saw the fish loaded into the canoes. And the men spread the nets out along the sand. And the women cleaned them of weeds and sticks. And then he heard a laugh and a squeal. And one of the little maidens with a small basket in her hands was running away from the boys who'd been teasing her. Straight up to Kahukura she ran, and she hid amongst some bushes a few paces away. She smiled and peered out from behind the bush at the boys who were searching in vain for her. Her youth and her loveliness were such that Kahukura fell in love with her at once. He glanced from the girl to the fishing nets which were spread out in the moonlight. He would take them as the blessing promised by the voice in his dream. Rising to his feet, Kahukura gave a mighty shout, and all the golden-haired folk turned to look at him. At once they fell into a panic, for as Kahukura well knew, they were terrified of human folk. The lovely girl rose, thinking to run to the canoes of her people. And when she saw that she was too close to Kahukura to escape his reach, she sank down, shaking with fear. Meanwhile, her companions were running hither and thither, trying to save their catch of fish, trying to pick up their nets, trying to save themselves. Finally, as Kahukura walked boldly toward them, with his broad shoulders and rippling muscles shining in the hard white light of the moon, the golden-haired folk boarded their canoes and paddled away. And left on the beach was the precious fishing net. Kahukura stood looking at the beautiful golden-haired girl, and she stared at him, the fine, strong figure of the war chief, Kahukura. He was so much bolder so much braver than the men of her own race, that she fell in love with him at once. And so hand in hand they returned to the land of Kahukura, and with them they took the fishing net and the girl's basket, in which were the implements for making new nets and mending the old. Indeed, I have returned with the blessing. I told in my dream, cried Kahukura to his tribe. He held up the fishing nets. This is the blessing which will make this tribe greater than any other, he announced. And then he turned to the girl at his side. And this is the blessing which will make me happier than any other.